Alright folks, welcome to another beer review. I've got a sneaky suspicion I've got some food somewhere on my t-shirt. But hey ho, it is what it is. So we've got two beers from Northern Monk. Both of these are from Tesco's. And as you've seen by the thumbnail, and as you've read by the title, we've got North versus South. So North is brewed in collaboration with Overtone and Neon Raptor, and the South is brewed in collaboration with Staggeringly Good, Brewed by Numbers and Yonder. Oh, hang on a minute, no. So basically, Brewed by Numbers, Staggeringly Good and Yonder have come together to brew South. And where is this actually brewed? Let's see. Is that actually brewed by Brew by Numbers? I'm not too sure. Anyway, so yeah, we've got North versus South. In this day and age where we're all affected by the cost of living crisis, I would say that north-south divide will always be there. There'll always be like the north versus south in general. And of course with the recent passing of the Queen, you know, you are finding a little bit more solidarity until you vocalise your opinion about the royal family, and that can cause a divide in and of itself, but we're not here to talk about that. So yeah, North versus South, and I think, yeah, because it gives you the address for Brew by Numbers, so, and it makes sense that they're in the centre of the label. So 3 breweries from the north, 3 breweries from the south. I'll quickly read you what it says on the north can. Leeds Northern Monk team up with Glasgow's Overtone and Nottingham's Neon Raptor to form the North's tag team against some of the finest breweries the south has to offer. Combining their shared passion for all things hoppy, the Northern Powerhouse are represented by a double dry hopped IPA packed full of Citra, plus Strata, Idaho 7 and Eldorado for sweet and zesty citrus, tropical fruit and dank bitterness. 7% ABV for the north. South is also 7% ABV. To represent the South, Brewed by Numbers in London have teamed up with Yonder from Somerset and Staggeringly Good from Portsmouth. I'm actually quite glad that they've not just like worked with local breweries, which I do find is a nice little touch. The trio of southern breweries have produced double IPA that is soft, juicy and naturally hazy in appearance. The addition of oats gives it a silky mouthfeel, while fresh and expressive American hops offer aromas of citrus, mango and pine, resulting in a beer that is full-bodied, drinkable and refreshing. Doesn't go into any details as to what hops they've used, so I'm not too sure if this is the one recipe and both parties, or what's the 6 version of both. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So I'm not sure if they've sort of like gone off the one recipe, or if they've just gone, we're going to brew like a 7% IPA, let's see what we can all come up with. But it's a good little project, and it's amazing that you can get them in a supermarket, which is great if you're in the south, so you get to try some northern breweries, and also if you're in the north you get to try some southern breweries. Both have got really intriguing artwork. North, it's always grim up north, so we've got a monochrome black and white piece of art, and then full of colour with a London backdrop. drop, and a dinosaur. And then Modern Wharf. Of course, dinosaur, staggeringly good. But yeah, both very eye-catching. I like the fact that, anyway, it's just those little touches. So yeah, got 2 glasses, both of them Northern Monk glasses, both Tekus. Got to keep it as even and fair as possible. No bias towards the north. Even if I am a northerner. So let's get that poured using the Patrons glass for that, and that's also a Patrons one, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not a member of the Patron Society for Northern Monk, but I've got 2 glasses from it. And then let's see what we get with the South. We're not going to get into a discussion about the range in supermarkets because it's done to death every time I review a beer from a supermarket. But anyway, let's see what we get. So beers in the glass then. Not much in it really. I'd say the Northern one is maybe a little bit more dirtier looking. The Southern one is in a dirtier looking glass, so there is that. But yeah, they're not so like bright or vibrant hazy IPAs. They're really murky and like dirty, earthy looking. Both have the sort of similar peachy, dulled down yellowish hue. Head dissipates on both of them really quickly. I'm not sure if the sort of like the iridescent artwork on the glass affects how the beer looks, but both of them looking pretty damn good. But I would say this is the sort of darker, dirty one. Keep in line with that Grim Up North, which, by the way, fantastic song by KLF, where Skelmersdale gets a mention in it, so get in there, dear lads. So let's see what we get on the nose. Yeah, it's got that ripeness, like a bruised fruit. It's got that dank edge there, a little bit of a sweet caramelised oniony garlicky sort of essence, a little bit of mango, hint of peach coming through with the real zesty sort of bite. Smell very nice indeed. And then for the southern version, it's not a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Aromatic. It doesn't really quite pack that punch. There's a little bit more sweetness coming through on the northern beer. For some reason I've got fries to go coming from this. There's maybe a tiny bit more of a zesty character coming through. That's what I'm predominantly getting. There are those sort of like similar aromas coming from this as you got from that. A little bit more marmaladey potentially, but there is still that savoury, oniony, garlicky sort of element to it. So both beers not too dissimilar in terms of how they smell. This is starting to look more like fruit juice. It really, really is. Both smell really good, but I would say there's a little bit more going on with the North beer. Speaking of which, let's give it a taste. Cheers, folks. Oh yeah. Definitely a pronounced earthy, dank, piney character coming through on that one. soft mouthfeel. You will have had much more fuller bodied 7% ABV IPAs, I'm sure. There's a little bit of like apricot peach coming through. Dankness definitely there, especially on the back end. There's a little bit of bitterness, but it's got this sort of like punchiness to it, almost a passion fruit like. But throughout the whole thing, there's this really modest, like lemony, zesty character. But very much an earthy, dank, savoury sort of tasting IPA. So we'll try the southern counterpart, because I think last time they did this, the northern collaboration was an IPA, and the southern one was like a sour beer, which I didn't pick up because I've really started to go off a little bit with sour beers. I'm just not really being in the mood, and we've had the perfect sort of summer for them, especially like fruited goes. I mean, I've got two like pina colada Berliner Weisses from Black Lodge, which I've just not had the urge to open. So not really touched too many sour beers over the past few months, it has to be said. Anyway, let's see what the southern IPA tastes like. Again, characters you get from the North beer are coming through. I would say this has definitely got a softer, more citrusy element to it. Maybe a bit lighter in body. The one thing I would say is, on the back end, you've got that almost like dissolvable vitamin tablet character. So it's a little bit sort of like, not claggy, but tacky on the back end. Literally like you've dissolved like an orange flavour tablet in some water. But I would say it's not enough to make you dislike the beer. But it's definitely more a softer, more laid back beer. Not that the actual North beer was like really full to the brim of flavour. And I think in some respects, as much as both beers are really well brewed, if you've had anything from those breweries who are involved, admittedly I've not had too much from Yonder. I did have a nice sort of like, was it a maple mild? There was a mild which was really nice. Staggeringly Good, I think I've had like the odd sort of like IPA on keg. But Brew by Numbers, you know, had a fair few of their beers. But I know that all three breweries involved in the South collaboration are capable of brewing much better beer. And to be honest, with the North, I could say exactly the same. I mean, some may argue that, you know, Overtone, Northern Monk and Neon Raptor have produced some really impressive, in-your-face, hop-forward beers. Of course, Neon Raptor also making a name for themselves with their adjunct Imperial Stouts. Northern Monk, we all know, can brew great Imperial Stouts. Overtone, I'd say, more well known for their hazy sort of pales and IPAs, but they've brewed some amazing stouts. Staggeringly Good, known for quite silly sort of big in-your-face flavoursome adjunct sours and that sort of stuff. Brew by Numbers just have like a set amount of styles, and then they'll just use those same recipes, tweak them, and with the obviously numbers. And Yonder have become really quite, from what I've seen, synonymous with some really interesting like sour beers. I will say that there are better examples of these sorts of beers available in the exact same supermarket that I got them from. I was maybe expecting a little bit more, but then that again could come down to the fact that, you know, we're so spoilt for choice nowadays. But I would definitely say there's better options in your supermarkets. Like I said, not bad beers at all. You certainly wouldn't turn down another can of each, but I would probably pick, well, let's just say, if I'm in Tesco's, I'd probably pick up a 4-pack of Faith. Brew by Numbers, you could pick up some of their IPAs from various supermarkets. Will these beers excite the newer sort of drinker to try all the breweries involved? I don't know, that's a big shout. That's a very big shout, because all 6 breweries are well established, well loved, have big fanfare. I just think that this doesn't showcase either the north or south. Out of the 2 beers, I would probably say the north is a bit more flavourful, a little bit more enjoyable, got a little bit more of a satisfying mouthfeel, although that being said, the more I'm drinking it, the thinner it seems to get, but it's not like thin or watery, neither of them are. I think the one thing that works against the south beer is that vitamin tablet character. I can't escape it. It's building up a little bit more. But I'd like to see them continue this, working with different breweries, because it's an exciting thing to see on the supermarket shelf, really. But I don't think they're the best introductions to any brewery involved in this. But that being said, I can't really fault them too much. So I think that pretty much sums it up. By the slightest of margins, with no northern bias, for me, I think the beer that just pips to the finish line quicker, what a terrible analogy, would be North. I would say it is the better of the 2 beers. That being said, there's not much in it. There's really not much in it. And I think overall, maybe a tad disappointed. I mean, it's great because chances are you're going to buy both cans, especially if you're inclined to do comparisons and stuff like this. So, you know, if 100 people in a week in that one supermarket go in and say, oh, north versus south, I'll get a can of each. That's a pretty steady, you know, amount of beers, really. Of course, you know, the odd 100 cans sold each week isn't exactly gonna, you know, set the world on fire. Your profits aren't gonna shoot up, but each brewery involved in this have big fanfare, and I think, you know, it's nice to have 100 people buy your beer, but when you're distributing it yourself, when you know, pouring it from your own tap rooms, when, you know, you can buy it directly from the brewery, but also bottle shops, online retailers. So yeah, don't know what point I'm trying to make there, so I'll end this video here. I was going to do this as a live video, but I'm actually quite glad I didn't, because this video is a little bit shit, isn't it, really? Quite anticlimactic. But yeah, both modest beers. I think that's where we go. But I think in that same breath, you could push the boat out and be a little bit more adventurous. I mean, I'm not, obviously, with beers that are primarily available from the supermarkets, the cost level does come into play. But I don't really think too many of the breweries who have these healthy contracts with the supermarkets across the UK, I don't think they're really compromising. So it's nothing like that. I just think they've played it a little bit too safe. But at the same time, I'd like to see in 6 months' time, north-south, with more different breweries. Very interesting, very interesting. I'm sure you might be able to get these directly from, like, Northern Monk's webshop. I'm not too sure. So I hope someone got something out of this and it wasn't a complete waste of your time. I mean, 22 minutes in times like these, unprecedented times like these, much more valuable than they once were. But anyway, north versus south, no real clear winner, really. But coming together, and that's what it's all about. Anyway, we won't turn this into a preachy, new age, airy-fairy sort of open feminist dialogue. But at the same time, I don't want it to be a incel-laced Jordan Peterson sort of spiel. What the fuck am I talking about? Who knows? Check out all the breweries involved. Links will be in the description. And if you try both of these, which did you prefer, north or south? And what do you think about the breweries involved? Anyway, cheers for watching. You all take care, stay safe, and I shall hopefully see you all next time. Peace. Don't say peace.